Hello my beautiful people. So something a little different for you this time. You guys are used to seeing me read the tarot for you. You are used to me talking about numerology. It's time for some astrology. We are stepping into eclipse season, and yes, you will see the whole internet and all of YouTube is awash and abuzz with all of the with all about this stuff. I've got my trusty notes here. The reason I'm doing these solar eclipse specials, and we'll be doing all of the eclipse specials, is because not only is it a different energy, I mean, we've had a little dip into it, but this is where it gets real. This is where it gets, intense, and where it gets serious. And because we're switched from the Leo Aquarius axis, which, trust me, I felt, because I am a Leo rising and an Aquarius sun. So I really felt those ones, and actually I can now, looking back on it, really see the benefit of it. At the time it felt like absolute fucking shite, if I'm completely honest with you, because I felt like a ping pong ball in the middle of a storm out at sea. That's just the truth of it. You know, there were moments that were really great that I could see the benefit of, but there were some moments that I was like, do you know what, I don't know how this is going to serve my greater good, but in hindsight, I can see how it worked. So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about before we go into the video itself, right? And I've got, my trusty notes here, because as many of you know, astrology, tarot I can do with my eyes closed, right? In fact, I probably could do it with my eyes closed, even though it's all about the symbols, right? But just from the feeling, I would be able to do that. Whereas astrology is such a bigger and broader subject, and I don't have nearly as many years under my belt in that field as I do with the tarot, with the cards and the symbols there. So I always have notes because I'm just not as practiced. I call myself a baby astrologer. A lot of people say, I think you're being too harsh on yourself, but whatever, it's not about that. So with that said, before we go into your personal, horoscope, eclipse scope, tarot scope, whatever you want to call it, right? Yes, there will be tarot. Come on, that's what I do, right? There's a few things that I want to clarify on. So you see this, I've drawn it out, and yes, it looks pretty, and it looks mysterious, and it's got the symbols on the wheel and all the rest of it, and we're all familiar with what a chart looks like. Well, 90% of people nowadays are familiar with what a chart looks like. The problem that this chart creates is that people tend to see this kind of thing, especially a big event like an eclipse, as just a flash in the pan. They kind of see it like a static moment. And while it is true that the specific moment of the eclipse will imprint your life with a specific type of energy, right? And that's really important to remember. So when you read somebody's birth chart, when you look at somebody's personal astrology, when you see a personal one of these for somebody, what you're actually looking at is a specific moment in time that is imprinted into their DNA, right? There's, all of the stars aligned in a certain way to give you a certain energy that was going to unfold. Astrology breathes, it moves. Human beings are not, we're multifaceted. We move, we breathe, we grow, we change, we evolve. Just like the moon, we are cyclic. We go through great, awesome periods, and we go through low, sort of not so awesome periods. And that's one of the things that you really need to understand. This isn't just an event that will happen on this day and then you can forget about it. It's kind of like a toolbox. Imagine it's like a gift that the universe gives you on a specific day and says, right, here you go, I'm going to give you this, and you get to unpack that over the next 3 to 6 months. It's never just a flash in the pan moment, and this is why people talk about the eclipses so much, and why people often say, well, this will happen, over the next 3 to 6 months, and sometimes even further beyond. Like I said, I can see a lot of the stuff that I'm doing and living and experiencing now in relation to the eclipses that we finished up in Aquarius and Leo. So it's really relevant stuff, but you need to understand it's a process, not an event, right? It's an unfolding of energy that is imprinted into you on the specific day. So pay attention to that day, because it may well have elements of what this energy is going to be like for you over the next 6 months, what it might unfold, how it might grow. But don't let this video, don't let me, don't let anybody ever reduce you or your infinite beingness down to just a specific set of events that are all about your, oh well, your second house is your money. Yes, it does represent that, and it's good to know that. And it's great to see, if we can predict these things accurately, which is wonderful. But don't let anything, any system in the world, astrology, tarot, numerology, don't let me, any other reader, whether tarot reader, astrologer, whatever, don't let anyone or anything reduce you down to those separate sort of compartments. You are a multifaceted being. And it is good for you to, so there's the dualism, bad Rafi. And you are a multifaceted being, and it's important that you allow yourself to be all of that and to grow throughout these processes that take place, right? Don't ever limit yourself to anything that anyone tells you. You always get a chance to choose. Now, before I go off on a complete tangent, I will give you some overviews. So, solar eclipse is an initiatory energy. It's a beginning of some sort, because it's kind of like a supercharged or jacked up new moon that's like, yeah! It's got lots of energy behind it. And when you get a new moon, you've got the sun and the moon together, right? That in itself is the god and the goddess coming together in creation. Now, this one is taking place in Cancer, which is really important for loads of reasons. So the whole axis of Cancer and Capricorn are going to be lit up. Cancer represents the mother, in the fourth house, protection, love, nurturing, nourishment, that place that you go to seek shelter, to seek comfort, or even lock yourself away from the harsh realities of the outside world. It's your feelings, it's your attachments, it's your bonds, right? Whereas Capricorn, and the Cancer is the natural house of the moon as well, so it's really worth keeping an eye on that. And it represents the mother, because it comes in the guise of the fourth house. Whereas Capricorn, where we've got quite a lot going on in the opposite sign, and this is where the eclipses are going to bounce between, right, is the 10th house. This is the external structure, the things out in the world, but it's also the father. It's where we meet authority, it's where we meet governance, it's where we meet the things that we appear to not be able to change. It's where, the 10th house is your career, how you show up out in the world, how you are presented or received by the wider world. So these are really big things to look at, right? And because it's the father, it's the line in the sand that you meet, where you will go no further, where you meet authority, where you get that kind of, no, you will not pass, you cannot do this. And it's not always about the negative stuff. Sometimes it's to hold you back from something or to teach you a lesson, right? So when you see that mother-father axis, that's kind of what's going on there. So it's really important to pay attention to that stuff. What I've talked about, it's a process. Good to look at where this is happening. Right, so try and stay with me on this, and I'm using myself as an example so that you can do this for yourself, right? So look at where the eclipse is taking place, and then think about where that happens according to your sun, moon, and ascendant. So my moon sign, I'll start there, is in Cancer. So this suggests that my inner world, possibly even my home, may change over the next 3 to 6 months. Something about my emotional inner world, or even my home, my dwelling, may very well change because it's happened, or the identity of my home, or something of that nature may very well change, right? As a Leo ascendant, this is happening in my 12th house. My 12th house is all to do with the past, the things that are hidden, that are private, subconscious drives and not necessarily desires and urges, but it can also be hidden enemies. It could be people that don't necessarily, present themselves as one thing, but don't necessarily mean you good. Then finally, as an Aquarius, this is happening in my 6th house, which is all to do with my work. So something to do with my old work, my old workplace, my old work life could be coming through. So those are my big three, sun, moon, and ascendant, right? It's good for you to find out where they are, because it's going to give you that kind of different dynamic of understanding, so that you get an idea of where this is happening, why, not why it's happening, you know why, because of the astrology, how it's likely to unfold, and what that could possibly mean for you. So one of the things that I've put here is it could suggest that things are about to take a big leap forward over the 6 months because of services rendered, right? So the 12th house is the past, and the 6th house is work. So it could be some efforts that I've already sown in my own personal past over the last 6 months may now start to yield results or dividends or rewards, you know, depending on what I've put out there. And I'm currently crossing fingers, toes and bits at the moment, like thinking back like, shit, have I done enough? Hopefully I have. You know, I've done my best to be of complete service to you guys in and of the world. So with that said, let's get to the personal astrology for each sign. Take care. See you in a moment. Virgo, welcome to your solar eclipse special with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for being here. So let's go straight into it. This eclipse is happening for you in your 11th house, right? Now, the interesting thing about this for you guys, your 11th house is about groups, about social circles. It's about the people that you interact with. It's about the groups that you're attached to, communities that you might be a member of, people that you do hobbies with. It's also your wider goals and aspirations, the bigger, broader things that you aspire to reach at some point in the future of your life. And the fact that you've got an eclipse there, or an initiatory energy, means that over the next 3 to 6 months, your social circle could be coming under scrutiny. You could be looking at this and really, like I say, ruthlessly editing it. And you could find that you are tapping into the World Wide Web to build a community. So this isn't just in your local community or people that you interact with on that level. It could be across the airwaves as well. This is you really building and networking a group of people around yourself that you can interact with, that are really on your wavelength, that truly get you. And this is going to be, because it happens in the sign of Cancer, something that you want to nourish and nurture, something that you really are looking to cultivate more of in your life. A good, solid social circle or a tribe of people that truly get you and truly resonate with you, that you can feel at home and at peace and connected to, right? Then in the 5th house, so you know, right opposite that, you've got Saturn and the South Node in a conjunction. Now, the reason I'm bringing this into it is because it's opposing the eclipse, and it's important to note this because Saturn in Capricorn is at home, right? And this whole thing about it, and then you've got the Moon, which is at home, you've got Jupiter in Sag, and then Neptune in Pisces. So it's like lots of this energy going on. But the thing about the Saturn and South Node conjunction is the fact that this is happening in your 5th house, which is your creativity. It's how you have fun. It's how you express yourself creatively. It's your children. It's the things that you attach to when it's creativity. It's also speculative gambling. So if you're thinking about doing any of that over the next 3 to 6 months, do the Virgo thing and do the bloody research to make sure that it is a true safe bet. And the reason I say that is because when a Virgo puts their mind to something, magical things really start to happen. But in your 5th house, you've got Saturn, which is restricting that. It's holding you back from it, right? It's basically saying if you want fun, you're going to have to work for it, which kind of defeats the whole object of fun. Cheers, Saturn. But the whole thing about this is it's really limiting it's limiting your creative expression in some way. And the reason Saturn limits anything or restricts you from it is it makes you work for it so that you can then achieve it. And when you achieve it, you appreciate it so much more. The fact that you've got the South Node there as well is about a release of some sort. So this really does suggest for some of you, your children could be leaving home around this time to go to university or college or anything like that, or just moving out because it's their time, right? The other part of this is, in terms of your creativity, it could be that a project that you've been working on over the next 3 to 6 months now starts to come to completion, so it's ready for you to let go of, right? You don't plant a seed and then watch it 24/7, water it every second of the day. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause sometimes you just have to do your thing. You sow it, you create it, you give birth to it, so to speak, and then you've just got to trust that you've done enough to create the optimal conditions for that thing to grow and become what it's supposed to be. Because this is an opposition, your fifth house, so your creativity, your children, or the things that expect or need your input may take more. It's almost like because they're not squaring off, they're literally having a head to head. So the eclipse point is saying, look, groups, tribes, people out there, the fifth house, your creative expression, may, because of some of the groups that you've been associated with before, come under scrutiny. So you're looking at that and saying, right, well, when I'm with these people, I don't feel creative, or I feel like my vision or my ideas are held back in some way. I don't feel like I'm valued, or my creative expression is free enough to be spoken outward with these types of people, or this group that I was or am associated with. So you might see that dynamic starts to change, which is why your social circle will need to change. If you truly want to expand and grow and change all of your social circle, but also your creative world, the two kind of need to mesh. Then you've got Jupiter in Sagittarius in your fourth house, and then you've got Neptune in Pisces in your seventh. So your fourth house is your home, your family, right? And because it comes through the guise of Sagittarius, this is where you find a lot of safety and kinship. This is where you find a lot of dynamism. Like, your family, the people that are your family and your home are not just your castle, they're also a big part of the fabric of your being, of what gives you your perspective or your outlook or your philosophy in life. The fact that it's squaring with your seventh house is your partnerships, it's your relationships. Now, if you're partnered or if you're single, this could suggest that your home and environment, and also the legacy or the heritage that you've gained from your fourth house, could be squaring Neptune in Pisces in your seventh house. So some of your personal beliefs, some of the things that you hold true to, or the things that you've inherited from your parents or from your family, may brush up against something in your personal relationships, possibly even your business relationships, and cause tension there. The thing is, with a square, it creates enough friction or tension or annoyance within you to say, right, fuck this, I don't like that experience, so I'm going to change it. It gives you that energy and that drive. Maybe not in the easiest of ways, but it does give you what you need to make a change. If your relationship is taking up more of your time and it's creating, I don't know, it could be that your partner may not be your the father or the mother of your children, and they could not be getting along, in which case you're going to be pulled in these two different directions. It's a square, so you might be looking to find some way to balance that equation. On a more sort of macrocosmic level, your home life and your partnerships or your collaborations may start to rub each other the wrong way. It could be something that you do decide to collaborate with, or get involved with. Your partner kind of says, well, you know what, I'm not really into that, so I don't see why you're doing it. And you're saying, well, look, this is something that I want to do, so unfortunately it's something that I'm going to pursue. But it looks like that fourth and seventh thing going on there might be an interesting one, to say the least. And then finally, your 11th house and your 9th house are coming. 11th house and... Yes, sorry, your 11th and your 9th houses, my bad. Had a little bit of a moment there. I'll come in again. So you've got a sextile going on between the eclipse point and the Uranus, which is currently trining your sign as well, which is nice, because it's creating that spontaneous ability to change things. But also, because it's happening with the 9th house, it could suggest that some sort of travel comes about, or some sort of international connection comes about because of a group. So you might set up a group online and then all of you decide, actually, you know what, I'm loving this so much, we should stage a meetup, we should all get together in such and such a place. Now, the fact that it is a sextile, Uranus brings sudden, shocking revelations or, you know, revolutionary things. And because it's sextile in this eclipse, which is happening in your 11th, it could also be that some goal of yours gets a boost in some kind of way from somebody that is either very different from you or comes from a foreign culture. It could be as well that your belief system or your belief structure or even a religious group seems to call out to you in some way, where you align yourself. And when I say religious, I don't mean like, you know, I'm not even going to say, but you kind of get my point. It could be anything from a coven of witches that meet at night to, you know, a full-on church. And everything in between. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be black and white. It could be any of those things. So, yeah, I hope this helps you in some way, shape or form. I mean, as I've always said, I am not the greatest astrologer out there, but I believe that my unique perspective offers something. So I really hope that it helps. So let's have a look at your card for the eclipse. You get the Temperance card, right? So it really is about finding spirituality, deeper meaning. It really is about aligning with the kind of people that are going to really set you up to be where it is that you want to be, and aligning with people that are going to help nourish and grow your spirit. The thing about the Temperance card as well is it represents Gemini, represents Sagittarius. So that's really interesting in and of itself. It's also the process of alchemy. You yourself, and therefore the people that you align with and vibrate with, are about to go through a big shift. Let it come, let it happen, allow yourself to change and have fun with it. I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic time of it. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up. Take care, and I'll see you soon.